sparkled in this river that I've been washing my hands in forever. I know there is hope in these waters, but I can't bring myself to swim when I am drowning in this silence. Baby, let me go easy on me, baby.
Black wealth, the richest person of the black community would have been the pastor, and that's a major problem in itself. That's a major problem in itself.
Christianity and slavery were long intertwined. While masters believed that their religion could be used to pacify their slaves, African Americans transformed Christianity and created a new culture that would serve as the foundation of their freedom struggle.
All right, how you doing? My name is Matthew Daniels.
Matthew Daniels.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to start it off with this, two-part question. Are you familiar with the bill HR 40 that everybody's talking about lately?
I am.
Okay. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with the bill, HR 40, they're more or less in a nutshell, they're talking about reparations.
When we are both so deeply stuck in our ways, you can't deny how hard I have tried. I changed who I was to put you both first, but now I give up. Go easy on me, baby.
I come as one, but I speak as many. I bring with me today my family, James E. Bush, Vera Bush Whitley, Ulysses Blakeney, Clifton Blakeney, and generations of black men and women who have labored on this land, who have fought for this country, and to whom our country is deeply indebted. When white soldiers came back from fighting abroad, they were given housing preferences and education subsidies. My grandfathers, Ulysses and Clifton Blakeney, were denied those benefits.
My father, Ezra Jackson, was the baby son of my widow grandmother. 3 uncles went to World War II. I can assure you, when they came back, they did not have access to the GI Bill. They were redlined. They frankly went home to live with mother. The youngest son was a brilliant cartoonist, an artist. He was asked to work for the major cartoons comics on Madison Avenue in New York. But when the white soldiers came home, this young man was relieved of his dream and never again for another 30 years was able to work back in that industry. He was summarily fired because of his skin color.
The violence my family withstood from one generation to the next was not isolated. It was systemic, it was structural, it was political, backed by legislation passed by this very body to deny descendants of enslaved people economic and social opportunity. Underlying the generational trauma and exploitation is a government that abandoned its role to protect its own citizens, a government that refused to even acknowledge the humanity of my ancestors, a government that to this day refuses to acknowledge or atone for the wrongdoings of white supremacist violence.
We gotta put some weight on that though, but let's just talk about deserving a reparation. You don't deserve an apology. Is that fair? And neither do you deserve to catch up from being 17 generations behind. It was designed that way, and it still is designed that way today. Is that fair? The concise answer to your question of HR 40 is I'm for reparations. I have plenty more to say on that though. I'm for reparations if a few things happen. Okay? I'm telling you straight up. But the answer is I am for reparations. And the other answer is, and you got like 8 more questions in there. This ain't a matter of do you deserve something. If I slap you right now, do you deserve for me to apologize to you or for you to retaliate? Of course you deserve. You understand what I'm saying? Because this isn't a matter of deserving. We were African American. I even hate that term. That's African American is a term that came out in the 80s. Jesse Jackson was responsible for that, or mostly responsible for that. But the truth is, there's no such thing as African American. If anything, everybody else is African American because the whole world came from Africa. Right? You understand what I'm saying? The more concise or sympathetic thing is, I am for reparations as long as anyone who receives them must take financial literacy classes. Period, point blank. Now, to some people who may be what self-help books will call poor-minded, that sounds bad. But what's the point of giving back to who you believe has a systematic oppression or a systematic system of oppression? What's the point of giving all your money back to them? That doesn't make sense. It makes more sense of getting a reparations check and being able to pass it in your family 16, 17 times per dollar every time before it comes out your community. When the wealthiest man or woman in a culture or community lives off voluntary donations, 1/10, that is a problem. That system is broken. That culture is broken. There are 3 entities that work like that strip from the community and never give back. The first of those entities would be the casino that sits inside of a community, never gives back, strips that community of all its resources. The second of that type of economical entity would be the church, especially the black church, since that's the question you're asking. Sits inside of a community, never gives back. But that's a church for the most part, period. Not just the black church. And we're talking about the local body, not the mission of the church, not the big C, but the little c. And then the third entity that I can think economically that behaves the same way would be the corner store. Not the convenience store. The convenience store has a restroom. The convenience store allows you to go in, has restrooms, public restrooms. The corner store does not have a restroom. The corner store usually sits inside of a poor neighborhood like mine or my people. Lets 2 black people in at a time. If it's in a Mexican neighborhood, it would sell apple soda. If it's in a black neighborhood, it would sell grape soda. Sells paraphernalia. And it robs the neighborhood of its resources, its expendable income, and never gives back. You'll never see a corner store investing or buying candy from a black teenager for school projects or buying the homecoming ribbons. You just never see it. You just never see it.
SB should be on camera, especially if you got the shirt. Yes. Yeah, no doubt.